Welcome back, mathematicians. In this video, we're going to look at solving linear inequalities in one variable. So let's start with the steps in order to solve a linear inequality in one variable. We're going to start by clearing any fraction, which means we're going to multiply by the common denominator. Then we're going to simplify each side, and we're going to do that by using the distributive property. And we're going to look for grouping symbols to know when we should use the distributive property. We should also look to see if we can combine like terms. Next, we're going to add or subtract to gather variable terms on one side and constant terms on the other side. In other words, if I have x plus 4 is less than 3x minus 2, I would like to gather all my variable terms on one side of the inequality and all my constant terms on the other. So I might subtract x to both sides to put all my variable terms on the right, and I might add 2 to put all my constant terms on the left. Now what this does is it cancels out my x variable term on the left and it cancels out my 2 constant on the right. And what this leaves me with, I'll do it over here to the right, 6 is less than 2x. And so I've got all my variable terms on the right and all my constant terms on the left. Next, we're going to multiply or divide by the coefficient of the variable. Now, when the coefficient is negative, you need to reverse the inequality symbol. So if I have an inequality, negative 2x is less than positive 4, and I need to divide both sides by that negative 2 so that way I can cancel it out, so I get 1x on the left, and also dividing negative 2 on the right, I'm going to have x on the left, I have negative 2 on the right, but my inequality symbol, which was less than, reading it left to right, is going to become greater than. So now what you'll notice is that almost all of these steps are identical to solving equations in one variable, except the last one. So this is the unique rule that we must apply when solving inequalities. Now let's go ahead and apply those steps in order to solve these two inequalities. We have 3x minus 1 is greater than or equal to 3 plus x. What we notice is that there's no grouping symbol, so we don't need to distribute, and we also notice there's no fractions, so we don't need to multiply by a common denominator. We do, however, have like terms on opposite sides of the inequality, so what we need to do is use the properties of equality to move terms around in this inequality. So what I'm going to do is subtract x to both sides so I can gather my variable terms on the right. Now I do that only because if I subtract x to both sides, it keeps the variable term as positive. So that's why I do that. Otherwise you could, if you wanted to, subtract 3x to both sides. So I have 2x minus 1 is greater than or equal to 3. Now I'm going to go ahead and add 1 to both sides to move my constant term to the right. So that cancels out the constant term on the left. And so now I have 2x is greater than or equal to positive 4. Finally, I would like to divide by the coefficient of x. So this will be x is greater than or equal to positive 2. Notice I did not reverse the inequality symbol because I didn't at any time divide by a negative or multiply by a negative value. Now I have the solution that x is going to be greater than or equal to 2, which means the solution set are all values that are greater than or equal to 2. Now you might be asked to convert this to interval notation, which represents the solution set. So you would start with the left boundary, which is 2, and you would go to the right boundary. Well, since this is unbounded to the right, you would then say it goes from 2 to infinity. Now because we have the equal to part, we are going to include 2 in our solution set, which is why we put a bracket and we put a parenthesis around infinity, because infinity is not a value, it's an idea. Now let's go to our second inequality, which is 4 plus 3 times the quantity 1 minus x is less than 3. Now I'm going to pause right here and tell you what not to do. So what I see, unfortunately, people do is they want to combine the 4 and the 3. They want to take 4 and add it to 3 and then apply the distributive property. Please don't do that. You will get an incorrect answer every single time. Instead, what you should do is apply the distributive property first. So we have 4 plus 3 minus 3x is less than 3. Now we can combine those like terms. So now we can combine 3 and 4 to give us 7 minus 3x is less than 3. We now see we have like terms on opposite sides of the inequality, so we're going to subtract 7 to gather the constants on the right side. This does cancel out the 7 on the left, and so it gives me negative 3x is less than negative 4. And now finally I'd like to divide by negative 3, so I can have a coefficient of positive 1 in front of that x. So I have x on the left and I have positive 4/3 on the right. Negative 4 over negative 3 reduces to positive 4/3. What you'll notice though is that I did divide by a negative value, and because I divided by a negative value, I need to reverse this inequality symbol, so now it becomes x is greater than positive 4/3. Now again, if you're asked to write this in interval notation to represent that solution set, you would start with the left boundary. In this case, the left boundary is 4/3. And you would then go to infinity because it's unbounded to the right. And we do not include 4/3 in the solution set because there's no equal to part. So that's why we put a parenthesis around 4/3 and we put a parenthesis around infinity. All right, guys, good luck.